Welcome to This Explainer. Looking at this gorgeous cinematic scene right here, a young person sitting alone on a rooftop taking in that modern city skyline at sunset, it perfectly captures a very specific mood, doesn't it? It's calm, but it's got this thoughtful, slightly melancholic vibe to it. You've got those warm oranges and soft blues blending across the sky, and it just beautifully symbolizes that overwhelming sense of uncertainty and self-discovery so many of us go through. So if that imagery resonates with you at all, and you're navigating your 20s right now, dealing with that exact sense of searching, well, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're unpacking some fantastic insights from the Easy Mind English podcast about a subject we literally all experience, but for some reason rarely talk about openly: why you feel so incredibly lost in your 20s. Seriously, do you ever look around and feel like everyone else has their life completely figured out except you? Like you're just constantly confused, a little worried, or totally off track? Well, psychologists actually have a term for this. It's called the quarter-life crisis. And right off the bat, I want to validate exactly how you're feeling. You are absolutely not alone. In fact, millions of people around the world, sitting in their own homes, looking out at their own city skylines, feel exactly the same way. It's practically a universal rite of passage for this decade of life. But to understand why we feel this heavy pressure, we actually have to look backward to figure out where these expectations came from in the first place. So let's dive into reason number one: the childhood illusion. Think about it. When we're kids, we're basically handed this super predictable script. And because of that script, we grow up imagining that by the time we hit 25, we'll have it all. The perfect job, plenty of money in the bank, this amazing friend group, and just complete, unwavering confidence. We kind of think a magic switch is just going to flip. But the reality? Well, it's pretty chaotic. It's full of constant, unpredictable changes. Maybe you're starting your first real job, packing up and moving to an entirely new city, or just trying to figure out how basic independence works. Everything feels brand new. The pressure is immense because it feels like society expects you to know exactly what you're doing. But here's the secret. Most people are literally just learning as they go. And that massive gap between our childhood expectations and our messy reality brings us right into part two, the comparison trap. The source material hits the nail on the head here. Social media is a highlight reel. We hear it all the time, but think about how it actually impacts you. Every single day you open your phone and what do you see? People traveling the globe, getting engaged, buying their first homes, launching these wildly successful businesses, or celebrating huge promotions. It creates this overwhelming, honestly suffocating illusion that everyone else is sprinting forward at lightning speed while you're just standing completely still on the sidelines. But what's happening behind that polished highlight reel? Nobody is posting about their lonely nights. Nobody's taking a smiling selfie with their latest massive failure or live streaming themselves at 2 a.m. while they question absolutely every life choice they've ever made. We end up comparing our messy day-to-day reality to everyone else's carefully curated, filtered highlights. And guys, that is a guaranteed recipe for feeling completely and utterly lost. So how do we actually break free from this cycle? That brings us to part three, redefining your timeline. I really want you to let this sink in because it's so important. Life is not a race. It's just not. It's not a competition, and there is no universal finish line that you are somehow falling behind on. Every single person on this planet operates on their own unique, entirely valid schedule. Just to put that into perspective, some people discover their absolute dream career at 22. They just figure it out early on. But others, they might not find that fulfilling path until they're 35, or even into their 40s. Some people fall head over heels and meet the right person at 28, while others find love much earlier or much later in life. The point the source material makes beautifully is that neither path is better. Landing your dream job at 35 is absolutely not a failure compared to doing it at 22. They are just completely different journeys. When you feel adrift, it inevitably forces you to ask some really uncomfortable questions, right? Things like, what do I really want? Or, am I actually happy doing this? Now, those questions can definitely trigger some anxiety for sure, but feeling lost and asking them, that's actually a necessary symptom of personal growth. Think about it. If you never questioned your life, you'd just be on autopilot. You'd never change. These tough, gritty questions are exactly what push you to build a life that truly belongs to you rather than just blindly following whatever script other people handed you. And here is the most crucial takeaway of all. Literally, no one has all the answers figured out. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make in our 20s is believing we need to have this flawless, ironclad master plan right this second. You just don't. Even the adults you look up to who project total confidence, I promise you they are often just adapting on the fly. Being an adult is way more about being able to adapt to curveballs than it is about having a perfect master plan. Once we can finally accept that, we move into part 4, the power of small steps. Because you don't need a massive master plan to move forward. You literally just need the next step. Read one book, try learning one single new skill, apply for just one opportunity that scares you a little bit, meet one new person. On their own, these actions seem tiny, right? Almost insignificant. But when you take these small, intentional actions and repeat them every single day, they compound, they build up like a snowball. And over time, they create a completely different, incredibly rich life. Which brings us to our final section, part 5, growth over perfection. We need to completely rewrite the definition of failure. Failing does not mean you aren't good enough. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a badge of honor. It simply means you tried. It is undeniable proof of your effort. Every highly successful person out there has experienced massive rejection and disappointment. The only difference is that they kept putting one foot in front of the other in the dark, even when they had no idea where the path was leading. Look, society loves to push this false sense of value onto us. It's all about your salary, having a fancy job title, or counting how many followers you have online. But those are just external metrics. They fluctuate all the time, and they rarely bring any kind of lasting happiness. True value? That's completely internal. It's the simple fact that you are growing, learning, and trying to become a better version of yourself every single day. That internal, quiet growth is the only metric you should actually care about. So if you are sitting there feeling deeply, overwhelmingly lost today, I want you to focus on just this one number, 1%. You do not have to solve your entire future by Friday or even by the end of the year. Your only goal should be to focus on becoming just 1% better than you were yesterday. Trust that every single experience, especially the really messy and comfortable ones, is teaching you something absolutely crucial that you're gonna need later on. Your 20s are not supposed to be this perfectly polished, linear journey. They are specifically a time for wild exploration, for making spectacular mistakes, and for finally discovering who you are underneath all of everyone else's expectations. I can practically guarantee you that one day, you're going to look back at this exact decade and realize that the moments when you felt the most utterly lost were actually the exact moments that helped you find yourself. So I want to leave you with this one thought to chew on. What is one small step you will take today to find yourself? It doesn't have to be massive, it just has to be forward. Remember, you aren't behind schedule, you aren't failing, and you are absolutely not alone in this. Your completely unique journey is unfolding perfectly, exactly one step at a time. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, go out there and take that one small step today.